Hello and welcome back to Chatbot on Robot Republic with me, Josh or Riku. And today we have a very special guest because I am joined by iDev, who is the mind behind a really awesome website web platform whereby game developers and game players and gamers themselves can go and play a range of HTML and WebGL games. Hello, iDev.
Hello, Josh. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Marvelous. How to get
into it?
Oh, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this interview because I think we're going to talk about some really interesting stuff, which is really cool.
Definitely.
I'm quite excited about it. So we'll get the ball rolling straight off the bat. Kind of, where did the idea for iDev Games sort of come from and stuff? Because I've been looking around, kind of in my mind, it's a curated kind of a website that's curated and full of indie developers that have created like HTML5 or WebGL games and stuff. So kind of where did this idea come from? Because it's a really good website actually, and there are so many good games on there.
Yeah. Well, it's a long story, to be honest, but I'll try and keep it short. So it comes from my background in the game development. That's where it's like kind of probably around about 2010. I got serious, started looking at game engines and whatnot, and we started. I started pushing forward from there. So give or take, around about when I did my commercial game on Steam back in I think we went live about 2016 on Steam, something like that. It was around about that time. That's when we went live with the website originally. But at that point, I almost killed myself on that game. It really was so much work. As a single developer, you just don't realize if you want to make a commercial game, it's hard. It is hard, and so it was. Yeah, well, this is the thing. I was using an engine that was out of date. I didn't know whether it was going to work with the Steam SDK. I didn't know if anything was going to work. The interesting thing is we actually got through Greenlight. Well, I got through Greenlight. Sorry, I keep saying us, but I'll speak about that in a bit. But yeah, so it was actually Greenlight at the time, and I was really shocked because I put the game up on itch.io originally, and I made £100, and I was like, well, that's how much the fee of trying to get onto Green Steamlight will cost. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's just invest it and give it a go.
Yeah,
I wasn't wrong to do so. It was a real eye opener because I remember at the time. I got through Steam Greenlight in I think about no more than 3 months. I think it was, give or take. Yeah, it was just unbelievable how quick it just rose to the top. I just couldn't believe it. But I was having people that was just coming out of the woodworks. Who was going, "Oh, I remember that you made this and you made that," and I'm like, "Oh dear, how do you know I'm even doing this?" I didn't really market it that much, but yeah, seem to. There's people out there that seem to have followed along, and I didn't even realize. But yeah, I managed to get through that. That was fantastic. I made so many mistakes in actually going live, which, to be perfectly honest, was just one of those things. It's just as it is. But then, nonetheless,
it's your first commercial game. You're gonna make mistakes as well.
I think the big thing was the big one that I did wrong was the redistributables that was meant to come with the game. I didn't understand the system properly. I didn't do it right at first. We got 1 million people had seen the game within the first couple of days, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm getting reviews coming out my ears of I'm having problems. I can't play the game. I don't know what's happening." And I'm like, "Well, it sounds like you don't have the physics. Why you don't have the physics?" Oh, right, DirectX isn't installed. But yeah, I couldn't quite get it right for a couple of weeks later, and it's probably about a month later that I finally went, "Oh yeah, we got it all right," and everybody's happy. Yeah. And even then, there is still a strange portion. Once you get to this point, you see it's really strange. You start to realize there's things that's happening and you're not even sure why. I just cannot even. But at the end of the day, I'm using an engine that's completely dead now. It doesn't exist on the internet anymore. They closed down forums before I released it. I'm the only person to have got a game out with that game engine in the first place.
Oh, wow.
But I did that, and I was like, well, it almost killed me. The next thing I do now is start another game and keep going. And I'm like, well, I could. But then at that point in my life, I started having an opportunity come in and get some more work. And it was like, well, I need to push forward really and have a stable job and everything else. And so I did well with that game, but I didn't start my next game. And to be honest, for the next year or so, I was doing updates. There was a lot of demand. A lot of people were asking for more. That's the problem with games, is you will always get people asking for more. If they like you, it's a great compliment. because it means they like it in the first place. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking for more. But and you always feel like you want to give them more. But eventually, I did draw a line and said, look, the development process was really difficult because of the engine, and I went, I just got to draw a line and say, well, no, I'm going to have to call it quits. It's still for sale now. You can still buy it. It's still going to be there for years to come. I ain't taking it down. That's the joyous part of building a game, is that it lives on. It will live on. Don't get me. People are probably, I know people have pirated and stuff like that. I couldn't care less. And a lot of developers get really, really insulted by it. I've just sold more copies because of it, to be perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, because it's a word of mouth thing, isn't it? It becomes a word of mouth thing. If someone does, get a game through illegitimate sources and they go and talk to their friends about it, and they're like, oh my God, it's really cool. Then the people that see their friend playing it might be like, well, actually, if it's really cool, I'm going to go and support that developer.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. And I think developers are very easy to get insulted because there's a lot of work, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into building a game in the first place. And so you take these things really personally, whereas I didn't. I took everything as an opportunity, and I just everything can be. I'm at the point now where, as far as I'm concerned, the more people that see it, that's all I care about. I'm not really even bothered if I even make a penny off each copy. I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter at this point. But it's joyous to keep getting that out into people's hands. But at that point, I was like, I just really ain't going to start another big game. I just cannot do that, this early on.
Like you say, though, a game project, it's not, everyone thinks, oh yeah, I'm going to make a game. It seems relatively easy, but it's not, because you've got to work out an engine. You've then got to program it. You've got to think about animation. You've got to think about art style, music, sound design, narrative. There's game design is this huge multifaceted beast. And it becomes very much an all-consuming thing. A lot of the kind of solo developers I've spoken to have been like, yeah, I've been working on this for 2, 3, 4 years. It's like, it's a proper passion project of mine. And it's like, yeah, I can understand why, because it takes so much time and so much effort to develop something.
The thing is now is things are so accessible, and getting into game development now, there's so many options. You've got Unity's just fantastic. At that time of me choosing, which the engine was called DX Studio, and they basically decided that they went free. You had to buy a yearly license before for about 300, 400, 500 quid. Engines were expensive. This is how they were. At the time, that was, and I had always kept my eye on that engine for certain reasons. And so I saw, as soon as they saw it go free, I thought, fantastic. What I didn't have go through my brain is this is probably all going to get abandoned very soon. I was thinking that this is going to have an influx in people, but it didn't, unfortunately, and it did die within a few years later. But they were kind of like a predecessor to what Unity's doing, or what Unity was doing at the time. But Unity had overtaken them at this time. They were doing better. They had a lot of the features that you had in Unity, but unfortunately, Unity worked in these features, and this, like, oh well, fantastic, this feature's great. Oh, hold on, this is not actually feasible, and we actually using this feature. So I have to, like, there was I believe there was like some kind of world editor, but you couldn't tile a texture on it properly, or you couldn't paint. So like on Unity, you paint the texture on and whatnot. You couldn't do any of that. So it was like, well, all I can do is put a tiled texture on, and it's no good. I can't feasibly use this, unfortunately. So but anyway, so once I did that, I went, no, I want to make some smaller games. So I kind of went backwards, because I started obviously making small games. I didn't do anything seriously. Made a commercial game. Went, no, I need to make some more small games and take a step back. Obviously, I'd had a job happening at the time as well, so I needed a bit more of a rest, as it were, from game development. And so from that moment in time, I decided, well, let's try and make a few mobile games. So
mobile games have been massive now since what, 2010, 2010. They've kind of have been year on year getting bigger and bigger and more intriguing and interesting.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, we at the time I got about 300,000 downloads of my games, and so I had some decent success from that, as well as what I did with my commercial games. So I could see the potential, but I was like, well, hold on, this is painful. I like mobile, I like working with mobile and everything else, but Jesus Christ, I want to go live with my game. I've been working really hard. Now the thing is with mobile games, they're designed to be smaller. I could technically develop a game in a weekend. I mean, I can't quite commonly do in a lot of cases. And so if you're thinking, well, I'm going to develop this game in a weekend, I want to get it out, you can. You're going to have to spend about a day to get that game out there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I've got to take the time out. I've got to make sure you've got to sign it with this, sign the package, get the package ready. Oh, it's just, there's so much to do when it comes to getting launched on Android. That I was just like, this is painful. I'm not enjoying this. And they put me off just trying to get it online, trying to get it onto the Play Store. It was just a frustrating experience. Steam, I didn't think Steam was that bad, but obviously at the time you had to go through Greenlight and everything. It wasn't feasible for just putting your games on there. Itch.io, I will say, hands down, is probably the easiest marketplace out there that you can actually get your game up. It's nice and simple, and that's exactly what people need.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is, well, very inspiring. But they so I started to look at the actual like web games, and I thought, well, I'd like to launch web games. I can do mobile games with the same engine. I can do web games. Everything now is offering a web version, a HTML5 or WebGL. Everything's moving in that direction. It was the hot topic at the time as well, which, you know, with Flash now ended. It's now
well, it's the only way now, isn't it? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, which is good news in my case. So obviously upset a lot of people, but but it's one of those. I put my foot down for a while, and I had a lot of people come to me. Oh, will you accept Flash games? I said no. No.
But WebGL games are generally more stable, and you can do more with them. You know, you can program in theory. Well, I've kind of played around with it in Unity, and you can kind of create a PC game in Unity, and then create in the build settings, create it as a WebGL game, and it just kind of like reduces and flattens a lot of the textures and stuff, and it creates billboards and stuff. So it's a lot more broadly accessible to designers and developers, because instead of having to be like, oh, I'm making a mobile game, I need to use these specific things. It's like, actually I can make a PC game and then build it as a WebGL, and it will just flatten and make things a lot more.
Well, that's it. And a lot of the engines have gone in that direction of having HTML5 as either a primary option to export as, or a secondary option. But a lot of them have really headed down that road, despite the fact that I will say that the actual HTML5 space is struggled. And I will say it's struggled. I am trying my hardest to change this. This is my goal at the end of the day. And this is what I've worked for the past 6 years at, is to change the way this works for developers. I mean, players win hands down half the time, not always. I'll explain that in a minute. But for the most part, developers are the ones that do, you know, that they will. Well, this is why I looked at it and I went, well, let's release one on web. Okay, let's try that. So Congregate was the main option, which we don't have anymore. But so I went to Congregate. Now, getting your game on there it felt archaic. It felt painful. It just, you know, there was, have 15 different versions of images for your game. Oh, Jesus, okay. Why do I need 15?
Yeah, there's a random arbitrary number that they picked that's in double digits. Yeah.
Well, this is it. You've got one for an email, one for this, one for that, one for a badge to go on just here or there. You know, and there's a lot of
unnecessary.
It is. It's very difficult for a developer, because it's like, well, now I've got a whole load of artwork I've got to do for a game that I'm just trying to release quickly. And that's painful. So basically, I did launch games on most platforms at some point, once upon a time. Now I'm a bit out of the loop now, because that's part of what I have to do. Because I am not one of these people who will go off going, right, let's all copy people. Now, I didn't ever intend to copy anybody, but I certainly took the best parts of what I liked from other platforms and the ways that I thought things should work, and I avoided the things that I really did not like. So, for instance, Steam heavily works around how long you play a game for. Many of the other platforms do not. That's one of the things, and that is my favorite metric. It's fine to say I've had 1,000 players to my game, but if you found out they've only spent half an hour on your game, it's like, well, they're not really playing your game. Whereas the metric of actually how long they played for is one of the biggest, and then we have it on the actual footer of the site ourselves to see how every game, how long they've all been played for. And that's obviously something I wake up and look at every single day.
I was going to say, I was looking when I was doing research for this interview, I think it's in triple digits now in terms of days. How many people have been on the site?
Days,
200. I think it was 260 something or 270 something, like a big number of people that have been.
This is the thing. This is what I was really enjoyed as well, is that the other one I've just added not too long ago was how many gameplays that we have in total. And so originally I hadn't put that on there. A lot of these things just don't cross my mind, to be honest. And then one day I'm like, I wonder how many total gameplays we've actually got. You know, why am I not doing this? I'm recording all these gameplays for each individual game. I'm telling the developer, they all get like a bit of a statistics panel. But I was like, well, I don't really know. Oh, well, I'll put it on there. I'll find out. And when I did that, we were just shy. We were probably 10,000 shy of 200,000. And I was putting on Twitter at the time, and this was only probably 6 months ago. I think a year max. I don't think it was that long, but I put it on there, and I was, well, come on, 10,000 more, we'll be at 200,000. Oh, that'd be really nice. Let's get there. Probably took another month or so, but then since then we've got to 300,000 in like bloody I don't know, a couple of months really. So I mean, these statistics, and this is one of the main things that we do, and this is why I keep saying it's a bit of a habit at this point. It's just me. There's nobody else. It's just me, one developer. I developed the whole site. I've developed it twice. I've built the entire thing twice. That's how dedicated I am to this cause. But I see this platform as ours, as everybody who jumps on that site and they upload their game and they do it. And that's why I always say it's a bit of a habit. I'm not trying to look big. And now that's one thing. When I was small, and when we grow, we grow. And all I've ever been is transparent, and that's all I ever will be. Is transparent. I do an overview. I started doing the overview each year. I've never known anybody else itch.io to do an overview at the time. I never really was paying that much attention, but suddenly I realized everybody's doing an overview all of a sudden. I don't know if they're looking at me or what, but at the end of the day, I did an overview. I just thought, well, I want to put the stats out there. I want people to genuinely see what we've done. There's no point in people seeing the stats day in, day out, you know, the stuff that I'm recording in the background. But as a yearly breakdown, how many views have we had this year? You know, how many people have got to the site? And, you know, I always have a positive, or try to have a bit of a positive spin each year on, you know, what we've done, whether the stats go down a little bit or whether there's always a reason. You know, we'll quite often we'll get, because we allow everybody to embed the games onto their own sites. And so we might get somebody who embeds the game in one of the games and they go and flood it with traffic, thinking that, you know, I'll buy some cheap traffic to get myself going. We obviously see that in our stats. We know it's, you know, it's not like we're not going, oh yeah, fantastic, we're going huge this year because we're seeing it. I'm looking at it, I'm going, well, yeah, I know what's happening. I've seen it.
Someone's put paid promotions on Facebook and Twitter.
That's it. Yeah. And so it's just, it's just one of those things that I keep really open, but it's really a joint effort. Everybody who joins, it becomes the site. As far as I see, I'm just the one driving it for the most part.
But I think
it's like,
that's very much kind of what the indie scene, especially in games devs and stuff, the indie scene in game dev is. It's a community-based thing, and actually what you're doing with iDev and kind of, you know, the use of we is actually making it really obvious that this is a community feeling. And it's, you know, from a lot of the kind of, you know, other kind of like solo project developers and stuff I've spoken to, they've all said that it's a community effort. You know, we all kind of see the kind of like, you know, the follow Fridays on Twitter for kind of like an array of indie devs and stuff that are kind of chucking those things out there. And we see them from a kind of like, you know, a journalistic side, and you must see them as well from a kind of, you know, developer and publisher-esque sort of side of things as well.
Well, that's it. It's just it's hard to get this across to people when you haven't really got. I've got a voice, but it's not something I go on Twitter and keep telling people every day. Like, oh, by the way, it's ours. But there's a point that I do really want to stress, because it's not something that seems to be obvious. And I think maybe I do confuse people at times when I say we, because it's often what people do. They start something. Oh right, yeah, we this. Oh yeah. Oh right. How many of you've got a team? No, it's just me. But everybody does it to try and look like they've made it already, you know. But at the end of the day, this is how I've always seen it. I came out of that game, and I'm not making money from the site as such. If anything, I'm plowing money into the site to keep the adverts going and keeping, you know, in paying developers and whatnot. But I do it because this is me giving back in a way. You know, I know that a lot of developers helped me in the early days, and back then it was all on forums and stuff like that to do with the engines. That was the way you learn. And there was people who were dedicated to just helping me, and I'm just like, well, surely you've got time. I haven't got time for this, but they did regardlessly still help me. And it's one of those things, is when you're in my opinion, if you're a good developer, you probably got your head underground most of the time. You are trying to focus on moving forward, and that's very difficult. constantly. You're just always having to think, well, we need to move forward. And if you're constantly on social media and stuff like that, you're not really moving forward. I mean, it is part of it.
Yeah.
You have to do it, you have to market, and that's, you know, but it's, in a lot of cases, it's the developers you're not hearing about are the ones that suddenly come and drop a big update or whatnot, and you're like, wow, you've been hard at work, you know. And that's the important thing. And so yeah, it's just for a long time I wasn't really talking about a lot of the things we were doing. It was keeping it quite quiet, and which is what I kind of do now. But yeah.
But I think, you know, the statistics now, though, speak for themselves. You've got so many hundreds of hours of playtime. You've got, you know, all of these big stats and stuff. And I think actually that is indicative of actually the fact that you've curated and kind of, you know, developed this amazing community that does give smaller indie developers and WebGL developers a kind of a platform that allows them to get their game out there that is playable.
The thing is that that's my aim, was to help developers. And I, you know, spent a long time with Twitter trying to build it up and everything else. And you know, it was like, well, you know, if the site didn't work out, it doesn't matter. I'm aiming to help developers. We can use the Twitter to help developers in one way or another. You can always keep doing something to help out. And that's the big goal of the site, is to help other developers. I saw a problem. I saw a way, that an avenue that I wanted to take, and I couldn't, because they didn't exist. I could go and release a web game on itch.io. All I could do was ask for donations. If I went to Congregate, I'd only get a portion of the advertising. And you know, I'm not saying that the Congregate model didn't work as such. I would say that it probably worked the best out of all the web platforms, to be honest. But you know, this is where I come in. This is where I'm starting to change things. This is the thing. We've got adverts, we've got in-game window ads with our own platform, which, you know, any indie developers who are listening to this, I highly recommend coming to check out our advertising, because I have worked very hard to make sure this isn't just good for developers so they can earn money. This is good for developers to advertise on. You are going to get either gamers and developers looking at your adverts at the end of the day, in a way that you are sponsoring the games. You're not just throwing your ad up. And this is the big thing about, and this is what, going back to what I was saying about the ads, about other sites, I say the experience for gamers, as for web games, has been tainted quite a bit by adverts. And we've all been on these sites where we go, oh right, I want to play this game. Oh right, I click this game at the side. Oh my god, that's taking me to an ad.
15 to 30 seconds worth of adverts, and you just there go, I can't bother. I'll go and do something else.
Or the other thing is it's all just ads everywhere. You're trying to find your game, but there's a game in the sidebar. No, it's an ad to another bloody site, and you're trying to figure it all out as you. But that's the thing. It's become this kind of spammy place, and obviously it has to be in a way, because the main earner is advertising. But that's where I'm trying to change it. As far as when you go across the site, when you're looking for a game, you don't get an advert at all. The only advert you're getting is a promoted game, which is by the developers on the site for a game that's on the site. You click that, you're playing a game. That's that, as simple as that. You're not going off to another website or anything like that. And when you agree to play a game that is all ad supported, you're told that this is ad supported. You go to play it. You can skip it within 5 seconds, the same as a YouTube ad or something like that, and then you play the game. And that's the thing, is that
I was about to say that I can attest to that as well, because when I've been playing some of the games on the run up to the interview, it was just so streamlined. And I actually put in, I've got my notes up to the right, and it literally just said it's like YouTube but for games.
Well, I'm glad that's what impression it gave you, because it is to an extent. But that's, I mean, we're pushing. I'm pushing forward in a different aspect now. I mean, the adverts, I'm not giving up with them. I want to really make this work, and like I say, I need developers watching this. Consider us, please. Come have a look. It's probably not a better place you can advertise your games right now, to be honest. And you know, I'm not saying you're going to get hundreds of thousands of clicks within a few days. It ain't going to work like that. But you're going to get quality people looking at what real people who are interested in games. And this is the thing that kind of works with advertising with games. I know when I see an advert on YouTube that's about a game, I tend to watch it, because I'm like, what game's this? And you just get drawn in, because this is what you want to see. You're not bothered about it. it's not usually spammy adverts. You're getting an advert about a game most of the time, and the products that are for games and stuff like that are still usually of interest to you. It's not really a place where it's a very spammy place, and you're like, oh well, I get a game advert about a product that's like, I don't know, gamer drink, gamer fuel.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like some form of like specialist energy drink for gamers, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
I want that.
Yeah, you don't. No, that kind of stuff. Obviously, we don't want that. Well, I'm not looking to kind of advertise that, but I'm looking to advertise games at the end of the day, and that's what we're set up to. The people who are playing games on the site are interested in games. They will come, they will be interested in potentially buying your game. But that being said, with the adverts, like I say, I'm struggling a little bit with it. In recent years, it really started off strong. People's attitudes are really starting to sway against it, and it's kind of funny because I'm getting developers that seem to. I had a developer probably about a year ago, because I was giving away a lot of it to a lot of developers. I was like, well, I haven't really got anything to market. I'd rather put it to a developer if I'm going to be paying for these ads. I'd rather just give it away, and if they like the advertising, they might want to buy some afterwards. So it's a win-win situation. But I was trying to give it away, and I had one developer turn around and said, "What, you want to give 1,000 views on an ad away? Oh, well, that's nothing. Well, why you?" And it just got really funny about it. And I was like, "Well, wow. I can't even give it away with people getting insulted by this at this point. I haven't bothered since. I've just thought, well, I'll throw my own ad up and just leave it." But that threw me back a little bit. But the attitude just seems to have swayed against these. Yeah, it's all right. All the developers that want to earn from ads still do, but yet they don't like them. I don't know.
But I think I know that we at Robot Republic, we're looking at ads and stuff as well, because ads ultimately are how, free news sites, you look at your IGNs, your Eurogamers, us at Robot Republic, your iDev, all of us need to kind of we need some form of ads in some way, shape or form, because they help with revenue streams, which enables us to keep websites running, to keep developers happy, to support people, or to, like we do at Robot Republic, create content that enables me to talk to amazing people like you. Ads, they are seen as an evil thing, but at the same time, they provide us on the other side of the fence with the means to be able to do what we need to do to support people.
Well, this is the point, is that I'm trying to reinvent and get away from the stigma. I mean, a lot of people are quite happy with a YouTube ad these days. It's just become the norm, and we accept that kind of form of advertising because it's very, it drags you in, especially when it's something that you're interested in. When it's not, when you're not, you've fed up of seeing it. But that's the point, is we're marketing towards games and game products and. Anybody who deals with something that gamers will want to see, and so we are only putting the ads that people want to see in front of the people who want to see it, and that's how I see it. But yeah, it's I mean, it's incredibly cheap as well. That's the other thing as well with the advertising, and we're looking at £3. Sorry, £3. It was $3 once upon a time. £3 for 1,000 ad views, which is it's pennies, but it's and the thing is, it's directly supporting the developers. That's the main thing. But yeah, it's just one of these things that the adverts just seem to. It's a strange one. But like you say, the important thing, I know we'll stress with our site as well. Maybe, possibly. I won't say never. Maybe, possibly, I did a little bit of advertising when we first launched, banner ads, but since then I haven't, and I've spent zero on actual marketing the site. All of it is using what I've done in the past, which is obviously in game development as it was anyway, and building what I can see as a solid foundation to keep growing upon. And it's very important, because when you are offering ads for other people to buy, you can't be just selling ads when all you're doing is buying ads from somewhere else. You need to have a solid foundation of people coming to your site who's going to be interested in, that's the main thing. We very little has actually got into marketing the site, money wise. A lot of time a lot of sanity and everything else has gone into it, but the actual, and I would say that we've had a huge amount of support from a lot of people in the industry as well, that seems to really like what we're doing and helped us push us forward, to be honest, and not removed our threads and stuff in places when I first marketed and whatnot. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
But it's like you
But
say,
now,
you're crafting a
yeah,
community and everything. The entire site is designed around giving
yeah,
developers a
yeah,
platform to get people playing their games, which is ultimately, if
yeah,
as a developer, that's what you want. You don't design and develop a game to
yeah.
just leave it on a file on your computer that will never see the light of
No.
day again. You want people to play it. You want people to hopefully feel the same level of enjoyment that you've had when you came up with this idea.
Well,
Um,
the big thing about the idea in the first place was me going, well, I want to build the tools that makes it easy for me to get a game online. I don't want any of the fluff. I don't want any of the. I certainly don't want any personal data from people. I don't get any of that. But the major thing at first was just getting the tools for me to do what I want to do
yeah,
and get my games up. And then it was like, well, it don't make sense in me just doing this for myself. It only makes sense to really have a wider marketplace of people to be able to do this. So you went, and you've hit a bit of a nail on the head, because one person on Reddit once said to me, I've just looked at your terms and services, which honestly, or terms and conditions, and honestly, that's kind of the last thing you expect people to turn around and say.
I was going to say that seems like a very niche thing to someone on
Yeah,
Reddit being like, "So I've read your T's and C's." You're like, "Really? Someone
it's like,
read those?"
yeah, exactly. I was kind of taken back, and he said, one of the things that I've really noticed, and he must read terms and conditions from a lot of sites. He
Hmm.
said, you do not take the IP, you do not take ownership of the game. That's, well, no, I wouldn't ever do that. That's not what we do. It's your game. These are just the tools to put your game on. You can delete your game at any point. You don't have to make it public on the site. It can be private. You have it's just the tools for you to easily release the game as a game developer. As simple as that. It's what I wanted. That, as a game developer, it's what I wanted, and it says that a lot on the site. I'm just an indie game developer that created what I wanted, and now everybody can use it. And so, yeah, so it's
I mean,
yeah,
it's no different to people that develop stuff and put it on the Unity asset store. What you've done is you've created something that was purpose built for you, and you're now,
yeah,
like a lot of people are saying, this is now a space where you can
yeah. We can all
use it for
come
the
and
same purposes that I
do our
did.
thing. Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you've hit a really important point, actually, especially in terms of like indie publishing and stuff. Um, with actually some publishers and some sites say, well, we own X percentage of your IP because you're
Well,
putting your game on our site. And I think actually a lot of indie developers wouldn't know this, is because when you're developing stuff, it's like, well, this is my baby. I'm a solo team.
yeah,
This is like my
yeah.
my life's work, kind of
It's
in this
yours.
small
It's
thing.
yours.
Yeah,
It's not because you upload your game to a site. You do not give ownership of your game. No, that's yours. That
yeah.
should always be yours.
And
That's the one
that's
thing you've
so
developed it. You
important.
thought of it. That's your. Why should
Yeah,
it be the person you? And the weird thing is he actually came back and said that everybody else takes ownership, and I wasn't aware of this. And I
yeah,
don't hold me to it, because I haven't gone looking myself. I took his word for it and went, oh well, that's really odd to find out, because I would never have thought it personally. And that probably means a lot of my games myself, if I've lost the rights to us, as it were. But it was a real important fact that I didn't know. I just didn't know that. But it's an important thing that people can know from coming to our site. It ain't gonna happen. You remove your game as soon as you want to, and people have. I've had people come to the site, look like they were going to be super part of the site. They've come reviewing everybody's games, playing everybody's games, look really cool, and then the next day they've deleted all their games and gone. And a bit of a kick in the teeth, but
yeah.
that's what it's here for. It's you have that right. That's you. You're just jumping onto our platform. It ain't anything else than that. And you can stick around for as long as you like. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's here for anyone.
I think in this, especially in the modern day and age, where you've got things like Twitch and YouTube and TikTok and things like that, where
Yeah,
you put stuff out there, and if you don't like it, you can remove it straight away. Actually, I think
exactly. Yeah,
people are used to that kind of level of, oh, I've created something, I'm going to put it up there, and then they might review it a couple of weeks later, and they might be like, oh wait, no, that's really rubbish. Nope, delete everything because I'm not happy with it. I'm going to go back to the drawing
yeah,
board, or just remove everything. I'm going to move on and do something else and stuff. And I think that again is
yeah.
really important, especially if you're,
It
if
is.
it's your
Yeah,
first project.
yeah.
It's really important to be able to put it out there, and then a couple of weeks later go, oh no, I hate this. Let's get rid of that.
Exactly. Well, this is it. It should be there on every platform, in my opinion. It
Yeah,
should just be a norm. It's what I mean. It's like I was going to make my game free at one point on Steam, and it was like, well, you're going to have to turn out a post about why you're making it free. You're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. And it was like, well, this is too much of a headache. I'm just going to make it as cheap as I can.
To
Instead,
make
it's
a
just like,
game
well,
free.
yeah,
They made
exactly.
you
I mean,
say you've got to follow the 12-step program to explain why you're
something like
putting it
that.
as a
Yeah.
free game. Wow.
Well, I mean, I do get to the point because you've been selling this game. It's only if you've been selling the game and then you want to make it free. And I suppose it's like, well, it is a bit of an insult to anybody who's paid for your game. But at the same time, as time goes on, things change. So I just think that it's just a good example of where the control. Whereas I will talk about itch.io, they're like, I'm almost the middle ground. I've been inspired by itch.io, what they've done, how they've done it, and everything. And I don't want to, step on anybody's toes with what they've done, as far as I'm concerned. But that kind of way. The problem they've done is they've kind of just allowed the people to just go on there, upload the games. You're kind of in this weird space where it's just your own, and you're not really integrated with the rest of the site, and you have to market all yourself if you want to get any sales. You haven't really got the helping hand unless your game does really well, and then they'll throw you on the front page and everything else, which is it's good curation for them because they're only getting the good games coming onto their home screen, and they're only pushing the good games, and they're not getting the ones that are like a bit shady and pushed to the back. Whereas I allow every developer to upload and add their game publicly. I do not stop them yet. I trust people. I want to trust people. I can't trust everybody. And the bigger we grow, the harder it becomes. I mean, I did have literally probably about a couple of months ago, I had a spout where I was having like literally games every day being added that was just missing the files, didn't work, were broken. All sorts of just people trying to mess about, really. And it was starting to go, well, I need to kind of do something about it. We might have to change. And then all of a sudden it stopped at that point. So
or
I'm not going to do it yet.
A handful of numpties are kind of just like, oh, I wonder if I can get with this. And you're just like, right, we're just going to stop this. They were like, oh, okay, no, we're just going to stop.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I didn't make it too public and stuff, but it was crossing my mind that we have to change it. And I did slightly change things a little bit, but I haven't changed things that how we may do eventually. But what I do is I allow developers to go public with a game. I come on later, and then I put a review on the game once I've played it, or I go and turn it back to private and I tell them why I put it to private. The game doesn't work, whatever. I mean, we do not allow adult games. We do not allow games that are going to upset people. I would say the site is very much aimed towards teen. We shooting games and a bit of violence and stuff like that is part of gaming to an extent. And we're not against that. But when it comes to the adult stuff and things it's not. I don't feel like there's a place for that on our site. So we have that in our terms and conditions. We don't want to allow stuff like that on the site. But luckily, I think people listen. To be perfectly honest, I don't really get anybody doing that either. But yeah, they put it on. I come and review it. So what I've done recently is I've changed it so it comes up and say this game hasn't been verified. Just at the top of the game when they go and make it public. When I go and make it, once I go and do my review, I make it verified. That message goes, and then it's a true game on the site as such. I mean, it's not a perfect system because if they come later and go, actually, I'll delete the game and I'm going to put something up that wasn't it, and I'm going to mess around. Luckily, like I said, I trust people. And it doesn't happen.
But then, I think that's part and parcel of the community you've curated and stuff with the website, though. You've got these developers, you're giving them a platform to put their games out there, and actually, if a developer is, a lot of developers would be really, really thankful to have a space where they can put their game out there. Actually,
the thing is you've got to keep in mind as well that we've got some fantastic developers on the site.
Absolutely.
Like people that I completely look up to, and what they've managed to achieve, and it's that kind of thing. Is that you don't want to hold people like that back. You want to give them the tools and say, well, here you go, join us, kind of thing. And we don't want to hold those people back. It's just the people that don't share our vision, I guess. But like I said, we're not seeing that many of them at the moment. So fingers crossed we can carry on doing what we're doing for as long as we can. But eventually, we might be a case that we do have to start going, well, it's going to have to be verified until it's shown publicly. But I don't see it yet. But the idea is we try to push every game. I want every game to have an equal opportunity to, this is what we're losing in stuff like itch, which it becomes a lot more work for you.
When you look at, the hoops that now have to be jumped through to get a game onto something like the Xbox store or the PlayStation store or Steam, a lot of people are like, I don't have the time to fill out, a folder full of T's and C's and things that I need to check that's this big for me to put it out there, because I'm doing this as a passion project sort of thing. I haven't got the time to do this. And I think actually having a platform where people that are developing WebGL and HTML5 games can put them, that then you'll then go on and review, gives them that kind of just that like, right, okay, this is nice, this works for me. It's not going to sit at, you know, the bottom of the kind of itch kind of, you know, thing with student projects and stuff, because I know a lot of me and a lot of my friends on my master's course, we all have to do projects, and all of our lecturers are like, put them up on itch. We're like, we don't want to put them on itch because they're not finished yet, or they are like incomplete prototypes. Why are we putting them live? But you know, a kind of like, it gives these people kind of a more kind of almost impactful platform for them to actually put stuff on and say, you know, I've worked hard on this, is what I do. I mean, I've played a handful of the games while I've been prepping for this, and they are just so creative and so brilliant as well.
It's the big thing. This is something that I kept on saying about ads. I'm not giving up on them, but my big goal is to make web games profitable. That's what I wanted when I started this. Is I said, look, I don't want to be spending all this time and trying to upload. And honestly, and I've done this. I created one of my games. I created a Doge Clicker. I made it in 2.5 hours on a Sunday afternoon. I was out having a walk, and I went, you know what? When I get back, I'm going to build a game in 2.5 hours. Well, I didn't say 2.5 hours, but I said 2 hours, something like that. And I said, I'm just going to build. I've got an idea. I can do it really quickly. I'm just going to do it, and I did. And I managed to do it. And it's the quickest game I've ever done. And then I had it up within 10 minutes later. You know, it wasn't like me going, right, okay, now I've got to wait a day to go and I'll get it on, and then I'm going to have to wait for it to be approved. Or none of that. This is what we really need with web games, and because it's or just generally in games, because this is how things are going. People are more often building smaller games in a weekend than building huge. Don't get me wrong, if you're building a huge game, then you're going to spend the time in going live. Trust me,
absolutely.
It's difficult. It's so difficult because to just keep working on a large game, because you're never actually moving forward. Whereas when you're building a small, you are moving forward, but I mean, nobody's ever really seen what you're moving forward with. You have to work 4 or 5 months to get a game, to get an update out to people, for them to go, oh wow, you've done loads of work. Yeah, Jesus Christ, 4 or 5 months worth of work. And that's why you're seeing
since, it. You're sitting there with like, you know, matchsticks on your eyes, like, I've not slept since June.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, but over those 3, 4, 5 months, they are in like blackout mode, when they're not talking to anybody on Twitter or anything. They're not pushing out anything because they haven't got anything to say of substance. Whereas with a small game, you could build it in a weekend and get it out there, and you've got instantly, you feel gratification in doing something. Because, and I find this especially with myself, because I like to be able to get something done, move on, get it out of my head, especially with development. Oh my God. Like I said, I built this site twice. It took me 6 months to build it the second time in a PHP framework. And I struggled to sleep during those 6 months. It absolutely killed me because I was thinking about things that I never really had to think about. Well, I'm technically going to have to change all the emails so they're not encrypted anymore. So I'm going to have to decrypt them, but that means I'm going to have to write a script to go through the database and undecrypt. Oh, Jesus Christ. But I can't do that until I've done this and did that. Oh my God. And so it was an absolute nightmare in doing it. But that's the kind of thing that you've got to keep all these things fresh in your mind, because you can think, well, when I go live, I'm going to need to remember this. And I remember, and how does that work? And Jesus.
And you're sitting there with you know, millions of post-it notes or a notebook full of bullet points. You're sitting there going, oh God.
Honestly, I don't do that. That's one thing that I don't do, and this is probably a problem. And this is probably why these projects kill me so badly, because I keep it all in my head. I plan everything in my head. I do everything in my head. I don't ever put it on paper.
That sounds very familiar.
Well, this is the thing, is that if it comes out your head, then you panic. So you've got to keep it fresh in your head, which means you keep thinking about it, which means you're going to do it. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you can get it out of your head. And this is why I guess it's insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over again. But I think this is why I get to where I have.
Absolutely.
I relentlessly just keep at it.
I find I used to many moons ago. I used to literally write things on post-it notes, put them on like diaries and planners and things, and I'd be like, right, cool, sorted. And I forget to do about 90% of it because they were there on post-it notes, and therefore I didn't need to be up here. And the second it's not up there, my
Yeah.
brain just goes, not important.
Yeah.
The only
Well, the
things,
big thing is,
things nowadays that kind of like sit not up here are like
Yeah.
these interviews where I program them into my phone calendar, and
Yeah.
I'm like, right, that will remind me 15 minutes beforehand, and it will
That's it,
remind
yeah.
me a day beforehand, so I can make sure that I've got the questions sorted and sent out.
Yeah, that's it. Well, this is the thing. It's yeah, it's a strange way to work. It's a funny one, because the more developers you talk to, the more you kind of get you kind of see the ways that different people work. And it's kind of interesting that you've said this, because you're probably the first person who I've met who really works like that, like myself. And it's a bit of, like I say, it's a bit of an insane way to work, but it does work.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I was going to say something about that. It's gone.
It's all right, we'll come back to it later if you remember.
Yeah, it'll come back. It always does.
So kind of thinking about kind of like the site stuff, obviously we've spoken at length about how this is an amazing opportunity and kind of like the reasons behind it and everything else. Kind of what do you kind of, we've mentioned this a little bit, kind of like, you know, in kind of the run up to this, but kind of like in terms of the indie developers and stuff, what do they kind of, is there like, we said you need to have a game, it needs to be these kind of things. Is there kind of like a certain list of things that you look for when you're going in and verifying games? Is it like a case of like, obviously it has to work. It's obviously at the top of that list. If it doesn't work, then it's gonna be like, might need to fix that bit of broken code sort of thing. But is there like a specific set of things that you're looking for kind of like when you go in and verify these games, or is it just the fact that it's safe for work, it's not overly violent, it's not some horrific horror game that's going to traumatize people, and it works?
It's actually very interesting, because it's difficult. It is very difficult when it comes down to it, because you do get some kind of curveballs, and you go, well, I don't really know whether I like that or not. So, for instance, one of the ones that did get me back in the day was we started getting a lot of Spanish developers coming to the site, and their games were completely in Spanish. Which was like, well, I'm struggling with this one, because if I email it out to our database and most of them are English, you're going to be, what on earth is this? Because it's all in Spanish language or whatnot. The description, everything's in Spanish. And so what I actually did was integrate the Google Translate at the bottom, and you can actually translate the site across. And I've always told people from them, and we don't have many issues like this, but I usually always tell people, look, do your title in English. It's good to have some English in the description. For the most part, if you can play the game and it's in a different language, then it's fine. But we need to know the controls. We need to make sure the control. And luckily with web games, it usually is quite self-explanatory quite often. Not always, but you know, you click around
90%.
and stuff, and you generally more so than you would on a desktop game. But yeah, that is a hard one. Personally, like you say, of the main things I'm looking for is the game loads up. And I'm not necessarily saying the game has to work perfectly, but I do leave a little bit that if people do play it, it's up to them to kind of put their input to the developer themselves. At the end of the day, this is the thing, I do not want to alienate developers. It's very difficult, because I don't want to say, look, well, I want to draw a line here and say, well, no, we're not, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like that. If you don't speak English, then it's a real problem. And what I've tended to do now is, like, if it is in a different language, but I can play the game, I will review it, I will accept it, and I won't push it on emails. And I do say this somewhere on the site. I think when you go live for a game, I say it, but I don't tend to push it through emails, or I don't tend to push it on Twitter or whatever. It depends on the game, depends on the quality or whatever. But I do sometimes make that decision of saying, well, I'll accept that I'll allow you on the site, as the game on the site, but I don't want to push it, because it just starts to confuse people when suddenly an email comes through in a different language. You're like, what the hell is that? So it's a fine line. But yeah, I don't want to alienate developers at the end of the day with, these are the tools for you to work. But at the same time, I do not want it to become full of rubbish, and I don't want it to just turn into just you can kind of see with itch.io in a way that if you did have the very end tails, and we do have games, and I'm not saying that we have to, every game has to be hugely of quality, but I don't, it's a tough one. It is very tough, but generally I try to play it like that.
the game needs to be functional. It needs to have controls that
Yeah.
work, and if it's got, I don't know, enemies in it, for example, then when you collide with an enemy, you should either lose health or die. That
I
kind
mean,
of,
not technically. I mean,
but
generally in my review as such, I wouldn't hold that against them because it's something that they will be looking for feedback. Bugs do
yeah.
happen. I mean, it's to be expected most of the time.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I probably could find bugs in the site, but I could give a given almost. But it's just how it is. That's how development works. And so
Yeah.
I'm not against that. But if the game doesn't start up, then you're at a bit of a non-starter, really. And it's a good point where I can kind of say, look, have a look at this.
Yeah.
I will try and play the game, and if there's, I mean, there's some games that I haven't really, it's gone over my head, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing here, but I can see it's working. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it doesn't, until we go live with it. But I mean, the interesting thing of that is that we've got 700 plus games on the site currently. There would have been more that people have removed at times, and I've played every single one of them.
Wow, that must be amazing, actually.
Yeah, well, this is the really, and this is why I say we're a community at the end of the day, is that I've had connections with a lot of developers on the site, and even just playing their game, I am connected to a developer. I will remember their name. I will remember their game. And you think 700 in, you're probably not really anymore. I am. it all stays there, believe it or not. You do pay attention. You might not be able to bring it up in a conversation straight away, but it's there.
It
generally pay
sits
attention.
in that little filing cabinet at the back of here somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. You generally think somebody who's running a site like this, they probably don't really pay much attention, but I do. I pay a lot of attention. That's part of it. I think that's part of what we do.
But I think that's important as well, actually, that if
It is,
because itch is very hands off. They're like, this
yes,
is a platform, put your games on it, and
yeah,
that's about it, really, unless you're someone who's getting lots of hits, in which case itch are like,
yeah,
well, bam, here they go, here's a fancy game and stuff. But it's very much just a case of it almost. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and we basically likened it to it's a Dropbox for games development.
right, yeah, yeah.
By which we were kind of getting at the fact that we just dump our stuff on there as uni students, and there are other people that will be working on little passion projects that they'll just put up on itch and be like, I'm using that to kind of like distribute it to people, as opposed to having to distribute it on something like OneDrive or Dropbox. We just be like, right, here's the itch link, and you go and download it and play it for a little bit, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's where we want to be, that middle ground. We want to be that, like I say, everybody has got an opportunity to release their game as a web game at this point.
Yeah.
The big thing is the money making, and that's I will touch upon this because I've almost gone to say this 3 or 4 times already, but keep getting distracted with everything else. Got so much to talk about, as you can tell.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that I've just done back end of last year is that I've created what is called the InGame Shop. So developers now can sell in-game features. Let's say if you've got the full game of your game, you could put it up as a demo version, and you could pay through the in-game shop, which comes up in the window of your game, all automated. So you just literally go on, easily create a product, and it does it all for you. You don't have to you don't have to integrate an SDK or anything like that. All you have to do is make one call to a URL through Ajax or XML HTTP or wherever, and all it will do is it will turn true or false.
Wow.
And it will true if you own the game, false if you don't. That's the product, sorry.
Yeah.
That's all that is. And that's all they have to do. And then this is the big thing, because there's a lot of options. I mean, I won't say there's loads of options for in-game purchases. It's actually quite a difficult thing. But everything always needs you to integrate an SDK. And when that scares a lot of people, because, is this going to work in Unity? Is this going to work in Godot? Is this going to work in Unreal? Is this going to work in any one of these engines? I don't know. And we're always, especially if you're using something a bit more obscure, or you even just develop the site from scratch, you think, I don't even know if this is going to work. Whereas this is where I completely avoid this, is that it's so easy. You make a call, you get the answer. That's all and then you work with the answer. If it's true, give them the functionality. If it's false, don't give them the functionality. It's that simple. But this is the big thing of what we're moving into, because all the payments currently all work through PayPal.
Yep.
And one thing that I've discovered with Itch, when I was back on Itch, originally all the money went directly to yourself. And then while I was on there, they started saying, oh, we're going to add a feature where you can decide if you want to give us some of your money. We'll give you a cut. It's up to you to choose a percentage of what cut you want to give of your game, which at the time I was like, well, yeah, I'll give you a decent cut because I like what you're doing. But I've noticed now they don't do that anymore. They take the cuts.
Yeah,
I can't hold it. I can't hold it against them. Steam does it. It is what you need to do. But I love the way that they originally didn't do that.
Yeah.
Whereas they now take the money for PayPal payments because they changed PayPal and they don't allow them to just take their cuts anymore.
Yeah.
And so they take the payment and then pay you out at a certain point a week later or whatever. It depends when you've got enough funds to take, which that's painful. You need your money straight away. So all the payments. Exactly. Well, this is it. So all the payments work directly through PayPal to yourself. I don't take a fee. I don't take nothing.
Yeah.
So I think this is just genuinely, I mean, I find it hard to believe I've done it, to be honest, because I don't believe there's another web platform out there that's doing it. I mean, it's something that's it's something that's very popular with mobile games, and it's probably what's made mobile games as profitable as it has become. But yeah, so I think it's a bright future ahead with that. And like I said, it's free, absolutely free to use, completely free. You get paid directly to the best part is you do have to have an account on the website to buy anything because it has to be attached to an account. So when you come back, that's a given. But that's an update that I've recently done. So if you embed the game on your site, they can log in, create the account all through your game. Pay for the product, own the product, all while on your website. You don't even have to be on our website anymore to do any of this. It's all literally, So it's just got incredible. So many. Yeah, it's got. I'm really excited about it. This is something that we've only done end of last year. Honestly, I was thinking about it summer of last year with my partner. I was thinking, oh well, this is what we're thinking. This is how we can make more. This is how we can get our developers make more money. This will work. Thinking to myself, I probably have it done in 2 years' time. And then by the end of the year, I did it. So I'm really happy about this. But yeah, we're really excited. That's why I just wanted to touch upon that. Yes, we have the ads.
Absolutely.
We've got to be pushing forward. I like with the ads as we always have done. But this is really, I think, is the golden goose.
God, definitely.
As far as it goes, yeah, no one's doing it, and it's such a big thing.
And it will help as well. If you've got a web portfolio where you're putting a range of games, and you decide to embed that, you're embedding games from iDev onto there. It's gonna be so beneficial to people.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, it all works for everybody at that point. Yeah. But the big thing is that if you're developing a game now for Steam, and you say, "Oh wow, yeah, iDev Games, that looks cool." Yeah, I mean, I would do a web version. I could do a web version, but I'm not because I need to sell it on Steam.
Yeah,
I've just come up with that solution to that problem, and this really is a gateway to a lot of people to go, actually, this makes sense, which will make in turn bigger games for the web.
Yeah.
So in return, I'm pushing web games forward in trying to do this. But I just think this is huge. I just think it's something that I haven't gone. I'm not shouting from the rooftops as such at the moment, but I should be. And this is kind of why I wanted to touch upon it.
That's amazing.
I think that's our future.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool. And I mean, one of the other features on the site as well that I absolutely loved was the devlog section, but it's not hidden behind the game. So you don't click on the game to find the devlog. You can actually there's a bar at the top where you can look for games, or you can look at specific devlogs. I probably know the answer to this, and viewers will probably, when they get around to watching this, will probably be knowing the answer to this. But anyway, was that a decision from kind of early ideation that actually some people will want to go and read devlogs because it's, I kind of think from an academic point of view, it's interesting to go and look at. I spent about 2 hours earlier on today looking at devlogs because I was just intrigued about what other people are doing and stuff. I was like, this is really cool. Was that kind of included kind of like from the start, or is that something that you kind of added in later and stuff?
It was something that came in later, but it wasn't something that came really far down the road. It was something that came. It was one of the major big updates I did in the early days, because when I went live with the site, as soon as you could upload a game, it went live. It was in a right state. It was, it was buggy and problematic and all the rest. But I went, no, let's go live. And I always do this with a lot of things. And keep working on it. We go live, get feedback, keep working on it, keep pushing forward, and we'll look where we are now. So it works. But yeah, it wasn't something that originally came to my mind, but it was something as I was getting bigger on Twitter, I was talking to loads of developers, and a lot of them now even are desktop, developing their games for desktop. And so they a lot of them will come into it and go, oh, I want to make a listing for my game. And I went, well, no, you can't. It just ain't happening. I'm sorry. The thing is, I have contemplated it a few times, but it just makes it a problem because, oh, I'm going to go play this game. Oh, no, wait, no, I can't play this game. Whereas at the moment, it's play this game, I'm playing this game. It's not, it's not just a listing for a game. They're all games, everything. And so it's something that I've not done. But at that time, I was like, well, I need something that I can offer everybody that can help every developer through the site as we're growing, because everybody's really interested in getting involved in some way. So, well, let me have a think about it. And at the time, I don't think anybody was doing devlogs, and I know people have called them devlogs and stuff like that. Now, anyway, but at the time, I think this was around about 2017. No one really had used devlogs. I think the only thing that you really had at the time was that IndieDB was allowing you to create posts. But you didn't have any of that on Itch. You didn't have it on. I don't think you did on Game Jolt and stuff like that. You didn't. I don't believe you had a way to post out like that. And so I came up with the idea. Well, I said, well, it's not a blog, because I don't want people to be coming on and feeling like they need to write a whole blog every time of 1,000 words or whatever and get really in depth. It's this kind of feels like, because then a lot of developers, they might well have their own site and they might already keep a blog. Don't get me wrong, if they want to put a blog post up, it's the same situation. It's the same thing for everybody. They can use the devlog for that. But a devlog for me was more like, well, you go to Twitter, you tell everybody, I've done this thing, I've done that bit. Oh yeah, great, cool. All these little features as you go along. But your devlog is kind of your way of bringing it all together at the end and go, well, here's a little bit of a log of what my development this month or whatnot, and giving people an actual bit more of an in-depth talk about the individual things, which people will do as blogs as well. But blogs tend to be more like, oh, I'm talking about a subject and go stupidly in depth and everything like that. Whereas a devlog kind of tries to keep people on track a little bit. And then with the tutorials on the other side of it, that was also because I could, I wanted to give tutorials, and now we haven't got a great deal of tutorials on there. Some people have uploaded tutorials depending on, for their engine or whatever. But it's become a little bit more of a ground of tutorials written for people for the site. How do you upload this game from this engine? How do you use the API? Let's say I embed a game, how do I make it full screen? There's all those kind of things. And so that's what the tutorials have become, more so me putting tutorials about the site. But it's just one of those things. It's there, and it's what we need. And also the devlog also is my way of creating news, because beforehand I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I just did it. And then one day I was like, well, okay. And this goes back, and this goes actually to show, because like I said, I've been doing my overview each year, and my first overview was 2017, if I remember correctly. I'm sure I did check this up not long ago, and I'm sure it was 2017. So that does say 2016. Yes, I launched about March, April time. But it was, you had to keep in mind I was working on my Steam game at the time. So it was kind of like, it was a back project at the time. It was like, oh, I'm doing this in the background kind of thing. And so it wasn't until about 2017 things started to get a bit more serious. And then about 2018, I'd moved away from my commercial game, and it's become more, this is my main project. And ever since, it just has been, it's just, that's the passion. The passion is there for what we're doing. There's in a lot of cases you do these things, and you okay, when you get big, you do get a few people being upset with things you do and stuff like that. But with me, I've just had so many good and positive responses from people. People love the site. They really like what we're doing, and they understand what I'm trying to get out of what I'm trying to do for them. And I just get nothing but good things, and that just keeps pushing me forward with it. It always has. And it's like, well, yeah, things kept going. It was like, well, yeah, everybody wants it, so I'll just keep going. And so that's a main thing that with the whole site is that I'm always, I've got the attitude of, I will keep building the tools, and I won't be just constantly on it. Well, we need more members. We need this. We need that. I don't need any of that. That's to come. I need a platform that is perfect for everybody and has all the features. And we're at that point. We've got so many exciting features. We've got obviously the in-app in-game purchases that we just talked about. We've also got a game database. That's huge, absolutely huge. That took me 2 years. put us in a bit of a hole for 2 years. But that was, you could create an entire database for your game, and the tools to create a database. It's a bit of a work in progress. Project, but it is it's fantastic. Fantastic thing. So nobody else has got that either. It's another thing, that another reason to come to check out our site.
If you're an indie gamer and you're watching this, use iDev for your game if it's a web-based one. God, stop putting it on itch. Look at all these bespoke things you've got access to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got literally everything. But yeah, and we're only going to push forward. It's only going to keep pushing forward.
And I think, going back to the devlog stuff as well. If you've got someone who's working on a slightly bigger, slightly more ambitious project, and they've spent a couple of months really focusing in on everything that they've developed as well, then the devlog is that kind of ability for them to be like,
exactly, yeah.
Oh, I'm working on this based on feedback you've given me. I've decided to do these things. Sorry, I've not really, done much recently, but you can read all about it here. And I think it is, it's important. You look at big AAA companies, they're not, yes, they tweet frequently about stuff, but if there's a project they're working on, they will tweet a big update about it 2-3 months apart from each other, because there'll be little tweets and stuff, but like the big comprehensive kind of just like, this is your big update about what's going on with the game, tends to come around, depending on the size of the project, 2 maybe 3 times a year.
That's it. Well, the devlog seemed to become quite a popular feature in a lot of platforms now. It wasn't at the time when we came up. Like I said, I've seen some people call it devlogs, devblog.
So many. I've seen design logs as well, and design blogs.
Exactly.
There's got about 18 different names as far as.
That's it. But that's the thing. It's one of those things. I don't know whether people have copied me or whatever, or I don't know if people are paying attention to what we're doing or even know who we are. I'm not really sure. But I'm a bit out of the loop with the way other platforms are working now, because I don't really pay attention. We do what we do. I do what I think's best, and I've taken the bits I liked from those platforms in the first place. But at this point, it's like we got. You probably don't know this unless you've become a member on the site, but we have a developer coin. And the developer coin allows the developers to promote their games through the site. And you only earn the development coins from playing games and doing other activities on the website. I have changed it slightly now, so that when a player plays your game, and it does it on length. If a player plays your game for longer, they earn more dev coins, and you also earn it. You also get a split of that too now, which is cool. But the idea is that for the player, it's nothing. It doesn't do anything. There's no use for a player, and the whole idea is for the player to give it to the developers. Because often people want to give things, but handing over money is difficult. So why not something that really doesn't mean anything to you? It doesn't have any purpose to you, but it does the developer, and it will help them in advertising their game. So it's a really, I think a lot of people have touched upon that recently, because I did it at the time and I was like, wow, this is really exciting. This is really cool. And like the response I got back was like just nothing from anybody. I was like, oh, okay, nobody thinks so. And then over recent months or so, a lot of people have been like, wow, I've never seen that on any other site, this developer coin. How did you think of that? And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So I didn't think really anybody was paying attention, but okay. But yeah, we've just put a stat. I did a stats page the other week on that, and you can actually see where we're us inflating and deflating on the dev coin. It's just silly things like that we do to keep it, keep going.
But like you say, it's a small thing that you've done, and again, the focus is to make sure that devs can get the help and support they need. And they can, and if people play their games for a long time, they're going to be able to advertise their game more on the site, which is going to ultimately be beneficial for everyone in the long run. That's really awesome, and actually kind of brings me on to my kind of like next kind of question, really, which is kind of like, and you can literally tell me that you're not answering that question because you don't want to go down the route of seeming like you've got favorites and stuff, but kind of like, what have been some of the highlights and more kind of like interesting and exciting games you've seen on the site?
Oh, and now this is one. Now, when you sent me over my questions, I was like, I could speak all day about most of these, but that one, this one's difficult. This is difficult because there's so many good developers on there. I am actually going to mention a few on there that
I was going to say, when I was playing through doing research for this, I was like, this is going to be like probably the hardest. Normally it's like what have been some of the biggest challenges as the hardest one, but this is like, I was sitting again, this is going to be the hardest question in this interview for him to answer.
It is a bit, I'm not going to touch so much on the games because there is just so many fantastic games.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to touch more on the actual developers that have joined me, because a lot of them are big on social media, and a lot of them I've met on social media, and a lot of them. I mean, okay, that's the first person I'm going to mention is Tristan for Tristan Games. Now, I remember at this time when I launched back in 2016, maybe about 2017 time, I was saying to people, look, jump on the platform and you're going to benefit from this. You're going to, hopefully it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And Tristan joined, and I actually checked not long ago, and he's the 30th person to have joined the site. So he's still with us today. He's still following. He's in the Discord, and he's a big part of the platform, but especially his games, because he was the first game to hit 50,000 plays. He's also got another game that's just hit 10,000 plays, and so he's got some of the biggest popular games on the site at this point. So yeah, when I said that, I thought I was gonna, I thought what I was saying was true, and it has really become true in Tristan's case. He stuck with me this long, and he has his games have benefited from it, definitely. Another person that I'm going to mention is Coke and Code, because Coke and Code.
I was going to say Coke and Code was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly, yeah. Which is one of the interviews I did watch. I thought absolutely fascinating. I mean, he's a fantastic developer.
And all of that stuff from HTML API coding, creating an MMO from that did melt my brain a little bit.
Well, he's got a game on our site. He's got Legacy of Your on our site. So yeah,
is it Legacy of Yours on that? I was looking for it on Steam actually.
Oh, was you? Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's put that. Yeah. So yeah, that's highly recommend having a look at that game, to be honest. And yeah,
I just want more lore. I just want more of the narrative from the game, because I've been playing Tales of Yore just like on my lunch breaks when I'm at home working. I'm like, I'm just gonna do a little bit on there now.
Yeah. I found this interview with you fascinating, and obviously he kind of connected us as well. But he's also part of Indie Legion, which I don't know if you mentioned on his interview, but Indie Legion is a fantastic group. I highly recommend checking them out. If for all game developers, they're just banding together to help each other, and it's fantastic. And I am a part of them. And Coke and Code is also in my group of Blues. So we've talked in quite a lot of length, different things in our conversations on there anyway. But yeah, so I highly recommend joining and join Blue, if you want to come and talk to us. And they'll love me for saying that. We got Xander Van Hove. I got him to join the site. We got Out of Tune Games as well, which have got Crooks Like Us on the site. Fantastic game that needs more attention from the site. It really does, because that's a full multiplayer 3D game. Fantastic to get that into.
That popped up on the kind of like suggested list earlier, and I was like, oh, I might have to play that a bit later on today if I've got time.
Yeah, definitely worth having a look at. If I do forget anybody, seriously, there's so many people, and I've found it very, very difficult. I've cherry picked a few people, but I don't want to upset anybody that I don't mention at the end of the day, because there's a lot of people that, that I can't. Well, I'm not mentioning of whatever. Just I don't mean to be leaving them out or anything, but we got Riverforge Games. We got Melwing. We'll leave it there. I don't want to go too. I mean, we got on the game side. I mean, it's really difficult because I don't want to upset anybody, because we've got so many good developers, and I haven't constructed this list off them. I haven't ignored them off the list because of anything. I've just picked some people. I did want to obviously say about Coke and Code. I did want to say about Tristan, because what a diehard member. And obviously Coke and Code is very relevant to your show.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely.
I definitely recommend go and check out his interview after this one. So yeah.
Oh, thanks. I love a little plug for our own show in the middle of it. That's great. Thanks.
And he deserves the respect and time. So
absolutely. And go and check out Legacy of Yore on iDev as well, because
definitely
I will be after this interview, because I didn't know it was on there.
No, that's it. Yeah, there's a lot of gems hiding away.
So kind of moving on, obviously we've looked at some of the real big positives, and you mentioned a handful of challenges kind of already, but kind of what have been some of the kind of like in terms of like the longevity of the site and stuff, what have been some of the biggest challenges for
The
maintaining and curating the platform?
Not so much I mentioned the curating as such,
Yeah.
obviously with the languages and that, but I would say the one thing that was a real shame, I think, a real shame, and again, this was trust I put into
Mm.
what we did originally. When I launched the site, I didn't want anything to do with the ads. I wanted to implement ads that people could use and get paid from, and I weren't involved. Again, this is part of the reason of how trying to help developers. But to do that, unfortunately, it means you're going to have to use ads that don't verify you, because if you if you want to put Google ads on a page, you can't, because you've got to own that page, and it gets a little bit messy. So unless you do what Congregate does and takes the money and then distributes it out, which is a big process. So originally we used, I'm not going to say what ads we used, but we used a URL shortener ads originally to do that. And then one day I came on and I saw a not very good ad and was like, wow, I'm ripping this out right this second, which I did. And I was like, well, I need to do something right now. And then we created our own ad network. So because of the way that it was set up, it didn't work inside the game window like it does now. That's a recent change that I've managed to sort out. And it used to take you off like a URL shortener to a page, and you get a full page ad and it'll take you back. That turned out to be problematic for many reasons. But because of that, we already was using that system. So I kind of looked for a system that would do the same thing at the time. I didn't want to develop something because I couldn't do it quick enough, because it was something I was doing in that blink of an eye. And so when I did that, I was also thinking, well, you know what? It's the perfect way to make more money for developers that might not be releasing a web game or anything, is a URL shortener that shows you game ads. And this is something that I originally wanted to really push, because if you were writing a post and you put it on Twitter and it linked to your game on Steam for your wish lists or whatever, put the ads in and make a bit of money from from actually marketing yourself. It's another layer of earning that nobody was really thinking about at the time. And so I thought that was great. Let's do that. It didn't work out at all, unfortunately, because that opened up the doorway to a lot of abuse. And so I ended up losing a lot of money, paying a lot of people, and realizing that what they were basically doing is buying very, very cheap, worthless traffic from one source, plugging it through the system, making their money on top of it. And so all we was just getting was just rubbish coming through the ads. And that was not what I wanted. I wanted quality. All I wanted was gamers and developers to see the ads about gaming. And as simple as that. That's how I always wanted. And when I realized that wasn't going to work, I had to take a U-turn on that and took it out, which is unfortunate. But I think that was my biggest challenge, because I've even had abusers, would I say, abusive people, who's even come back, and I can tell it's them. I know it's them. Who've come back years later and started trying to cause problems and trying to upload Pac-Man clones and stuff like that. And that's another thing, actually, I will mention, is we do not allow any games that have copyrighted material in. I know itch.io doesn't care, and there's a lot of other platforms that don't care. I do care, and I care from a developer point of view. It's somebody's IP. You cannot take somebody's IP or copyright. You don't want them to take your work, don't take their work. Simple as.
Exactly.
And it's a simple, and like I say, I try to work a lot off how genuinely, at the end of the day, we're all people, and generally we work in a way that we want things to work, and we need to respect that everybody needs to work in that way. And so if you want to put a Pac-Man clone up, it can't be called Pac-Man, and it needs to be something that isn't slightly it has to have a new element to it that isn't quite Pac-Man. Or the game industry is one that reinvents games constantly, and that's fine. But if you're suddenly putting something up and saying it's Mario, it's not fine. So, you know what I mean? And people do. And I know he came along and he must have found some HTML versions of these and whacked them up and stuff like that, and tried to cause more headaches for me. So that was probably the biggest headache that I've had from people, at least. Don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of problems with the site. I think we had one just a week ago that you might have noticed on Discord, but we won't talk about that.
No, we'll move past that one.
I've already told everybody we're not speaking about it anymore. So
that's fine. I saw that post as well. I was like, right, don't bring that up in interview.
Yeah. They're lucky I can laugh about it. And generally,
If you're
that's all we do,
and if people are watching this and they're curious about this, then they're just going to have to just sign up
Yeah,
and start
join the
playing games on
Discord,
iDevs and join the Discord server and find out that way.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's the only way to find out.
That did mean I did feel really bad, but at the same time, it did kind of make me chuckle. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I can imagine it was like
made me chuckle.
infuriating from your side of things.
Honestly, I start looking at myself in the mirror thinking, why have I gone to Discord, or why have I gone and publicly said this and not just tested it? Why have I done, why have I done that? Luckily, the thing is, Discord is brand new. We started at the beginning of the year, so usually I just do these things and don't tell people. And then the thing is, I only really work in one way, and that's like do stuff and then tell you about it. I don't like to talk about something. It's like the API. I started saying about that. Oh, let's do the API. Let's do that. 2 years in development and I held the whole site up. And I'm like, should have probably just not said anything, and then could have just moved on, and nobody would have been expecting it. But now everybody's expected it. I've got to make it happen. So, yeah, so I tend to do that very much. But yeah, I've learned from that one. But just test it next time.
It did give quite a lot of us the Discord server a bit of a giggle.
I had a bit of a giggle over it too. It was hilarious. So. Honestly,
is that in retrospect or at the time?
At the time, I was laughing as I was fixing it. It's really easy. It was me. It was me breaking it. I don't know. I honestly, it was like I did a whole load of fixes, and by fixing, I mean breaking. So I don't know. Might be more broken. I don't know. It's all right.
I mean, I frequently class things that I break as it's being fixed.
Yeah.
Present tense. It's currently being fixed.
Yeah. Oh. That's good though. I like these things. It's all part of the fun, and that's why I like this. Love the community and the site and everything. We're having a good laugh, and we're making some great games, and everybody's having good fun, and that's all I want.
I was gonna say, and that's what you want at the end of the day. Is you want the community are lovely. I've not really interacted much with the community on the Discord server, because time this week has been a commodity I've not had. But they do, the community just seem absolutely lovely, and which brings me on to my last question. Kind of thinking about plans for iDev moving forward. Kind of what are you thinking in terms of kind of, is there going to be expanding of the site? Are there any new features that you're working on? Kind of what is going to happen moving forward over the next few months?
Well, the thing is now is I'm pushing a lot of things to the community, but up till now I've made decisions and I've done things off my own back where I thought was great. Oh, that'll be a cool idea. Let's do the dev coins thing or whatever. And then I started putting a lot of stuff out into Twitter. So, well, should we do a game API, or should I do an API that can work with a site so you can get like games and stuff onto a site or whatever? You know what I mean? I mean, we do have an RSS feed to do the same thing, so it wasn't really necessary. Everybody was like, well, I do the polls, and I do this quite often now, and do polls and ask people what they kind of want. But I'm at this moment in time. I mean, we were talking about possibly like a game jam system, not something that people will create one, but maybe a site-wide one, something that, and I mean, we'd have to talk about the details a little bit more on this anyway, because I was kind of like, I'd like the idea of doing one a year, like we all just like, well, you know what I mean, when you've got we all have very little time, we all are trying to push forward with games and whatever, and whatever we're doing, we're all trying to push forward. And so if I'm doing a game jam, it's kind of something, if you're going to do this game jam within the year, you could kind of prepare for it and know what you're doing, think ahead. And so that was my thinking. Somebody else was saying, well, let's do it 3 in a year or whatever, or whatnot.
But then that becomes a big commitment, and some people will be like, I can't do all of them, or I can only really commit to one, I might not be able to do 2, and it becomes a bit of a, but that sounds really awesome though.
I mean, I can't say for sure it's going to happen, like I say, but I mean, that's one of the ideas that we certainly did was, I mean, it's honestly, that's an idea that has been whirling around for at least about 3-4 years actually. So it's not something that's just popped or just come up. And the more people that mention it to me, the more it's kind of pushing us in that direction. Obviously, I don't want to step on anybody's toes and what they're doing and everything else, but yeah, that's the kind of thing. But for the most part, there's definitely, we'll be moving forward in many aspects. I obviously want to still discover ways to keep helping developers earn more money.
Yeah.
That's always in the back of my mind. But it's very difficult. So that's always something that I'm always thinking about. Another thing is that because we've got the game API and we've now got the game shop, the actual way the game is working with the site is really kind of becoming one of the same. And so the next thing is definitely going to be achievements. So you can have achievements in games. And I'm hoping to, I was having a bit of a theory about having like collectibles and stuff like that, where you could earn collectibles, and then maybe I give DevCoin a bit of a utility by allowing people to buy, I won't say loot boxes, but maybe like card packs or something like that.
Like the Steam sort of thing that they've got cards or something on Steam that has been there for donkey's years and I've never used.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. But the idea is that you go to the developer, you go to the game and you buy it from the game. And when I say buy, I mean with a virtual DevCoin.
Yeah.
Yes, it gives players utility, but it essentially ends up with the same goal. The developer ends up with a DevCoin to use for advertising.
It then becomes a transaction instead of a kind of like, I'm giving you the DevCoins instead. I'm giving you the DevCoins and I'm getting some little clip art thingies back, that's really lovely, actually.
Yeah, it pushes it forward a little bit. Yeah, it kind of, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea, but I haven't fleshed it out properly yet. But there's, as you can tell, there's kind of, the way the site works with games is definitely going to push forward, and that's going to be a big feature moving forward, because I don't think anybody's doing it. It's been very difficult up till now because you've got flash games, you've got the different ways of everything working, and everybody's just trying to get games online and try and make sure this works. Whereas now I'm at this point where I'm like, well, no, I want to be able to create as many tools as possible for the developer to go, oh my god, there's no reason for me to be anywhere else. There's no reason for me to I can go here, I can upload my game, I can put it all on my website and embed it in, I can have it shared all across the internet in embeds, because we are ranking very well for embed game pages. That's probably one of the biggest search results that we get picked up on. So a lot of our games are getting embedded on people's sites. It's just a very common thing that seems to be happening, and that in turn is making us grow. And so it's just that kind of thing it's just going to keep, it's going to push people forward. I'm trying to give everybody the most tools. These are the fun things that as a developer you're like, oh, I really wish I had these, but I'm going to need to have my own web server, I'm going to have my own SQL database to do any of this thing. No, you don't. Just come to iDev Games, you can have it all in a nice neat package, and you won't really have to learn anything new as such, because everything will follow trend. I mean, we do have documentation for everything. And all the documentation has live working demos, which you can edit and change and play around. And just if you wanted to code a game inside that window, you could. I mean, I've humored myself with the idea, but so there's so much there. I think at this point, it's very exciting, very exciting.
Oh yeah, and you know what a great way to plug the site at the end of an interview. I mean, honestly, you know, if you are developing an HTML or a WebGL game, then definitely go and have a look at iDev, because this is just everything you need is there. And as you've all just heard from this lovely interview, the wonderful brain behind the site is absolutely lovely and has got developer best interest at heart, which is something in this day and age that
you don't get.
Seems very few and far between in the indie scene.
You don't get this from a platform, at least. You know, I'm driven by insanity at this point of trying to help people at the end of the day. But the thing is one day, if we do get big enough, you know, I might find some way to say, look, you know, you could give some money back or whatever. But at this moment in time, everything is, you know, other than me taking a cut from the ads, but the ads I'm paying for all of them at the moment anyway. So that isn't really a cut.
That's just a bit of cash back.
Exactly. Well, it's just a bit saving me a bit of money, if anything. But you know, from the payment side of things with the in-game shop and stuff, I've got so much there for you to just utilize, and that's the idea. And the thing is we've looked in the scene and saw Congregate stop accepting games a few years ago or so, and the reason they stopped accepting games is because their process in onboarding people was lengthy and difficult and required staff full time to do any of these things, whereas I don't require anything. I go on there, I moderate the games once they're on, I develop the site in my free time, and we're not financially held down with the site. You know, if I ever need help, I'll be asking the community and saying, Lord, you know, it's at the point where we need help,
Yeah.
but I'm not at that point financially with it. And so it's one of those things is you don't have to come on and think, well, I'm worried this will disappear tomorrow. We've been here 6 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the reason why we've been here 6 years, because I'm not financially tied down to the site. This site is a passion project. And I'm succeeding at the passion project, I feel. And a lot of people are joining us.
And
yeah,
to be fair, what more could you ask for if you're doing, well, it doesn't just have to be WebGL and HTML games. You know, as we were talking about earlier, you know, you can be developing a game in Unity or Unreal, and you can create a build version that is ready for you know, this amazing website. And what more could you ask for? And what better person could you want overseeing it than someone who's putting developers first? Honestly, I think what you're doing is phenomenal for the indie scene.
I like to think I'm trying hard, and we've got it's our whole community though. It's the whole Discord. Yeah, I mean, everybody's using different engines. Everybody's got their different ways that they develop the games or whatever. I mean, like you say, learn from Coke and Code how he does his. They can all share how they've got their games up on our website. They all can help you. They're all there. I can help you to an extent. I can't tell you every single game engine. I haven't used every game engine. I won't go that far. But I can certainly. We have a lot of tutorials. We have a lot of material on how to do it, and you certainly can just jump in the Discord and ask, and you're going to get an answer from somebody if it ain't me. So no reason not to.
Oh, amazing. And one last thing, iDev, where can your wonderful site and your wonderful self be found on the internet?
Well, you can find us at play.idevgames.co.uk. That is the platform itself. You can find out more about me on idevgames.co.uk on generally getting to my games. I've got 19 games on the site myself. Obviously, this is part of the reason why I did the site, so I can keep developing games. It pushes me forward. You can find me on Twitter at HTML5 Arcade. And to be honest, I mean, there's join our Discord. You know, other than those places, those are the main places you're going to find me, because at the end of the day, yes, I have a Facebook. I upload people's games. I don't talk on that. I don't use Facebook. If it disappears tomorrow, it isn't going to be going to bother me.
Sounds like me. I think I use Messenger to talk to a couple of people, and that's it.
I avoid it at all costs. I don't enjoy that site one bit, but we do. It has to be an option and getting getting eyes and whatnot. And it's a very good place for developers, but I just can't seem to get on with it. I'm on, you'll find me on Twitter, rambling on.
Exactly. And the links there are in the descriptions right now, a direct link to iDev Games website where you can play all the amazing games. If you're a gamer, please do drop us a comment to let us know what you thought of and what games you were playing over on iDev. And if you're a developer, let us know what you've been working on, because we would love to have you on Chatbot. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening now, iDev.
No, it's been fun.
It's been lovely.
Nice, good chinwag.
And thank you for watching. Big love to everyone out there. Please do not forget, if you're not already, subscribe to Robot Republic, to hit that little subscribe button and tickle the little bell icon that's next to it, so you get notified of all of our new content, because we have content that comes out at least 3 days a week, sometimes even up to 5. And please do also like this video and head over and check out iDev Games. Big love to everyone that's watching. Thank you very much, iDev.
Yeah, thank you very much, Josh.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.